He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Play Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of 365 Sports here in beautiful New York City. Welcome on in to what is a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show. You could always get at me on the good old cesspool of Twitter or on Instagram where I'm straight flexing at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Or you can get at me on TikTok at the Zach Gelb Show. But most importantly, youtube.com/@365SportsYT. youtube.com/@365SportsYT. That's how you watch us live Mondays through Fridays from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 to 3 p.m. Central Time. And then if you're listening to us on podcast form, wherever you do find our program, you just go to youtube.com/@365SportsYT and make sure you subscribe. What an epic day of college basketball yesterday, really last night, with some of the timing and the bizarre timings of these games and how long they did kind of wait to really get these games played yesterday and how they just jumbled them together towards the end, which I had a little problem with the timing. But after the games that we got, my rule of thumb is usually this. I don't bitch and complain, or I try not to bitch and complain about the timing of games when the game's delivered. And with Dylan Darling of St. John's making that game winner, Pitino beats Bill Self when it looked like that the Johnnies were going to gag one away, and the St. John's Red Storm, they do advance to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 1999. And then you had to follow up with the number one overall, one of the number one seeds in Florida, defending national champions, going down to Iowa, the 9th seed in this NCAA tournament that nobody saw coming. That, and then you factor in some of the other games that did occur. I thought Tennessee-Virginia had a good ending as well, where kind of similarly to St. John's, it looked as if Tennessee was going to blow that game and Virginia was going to win, and then Tennessee finds a way to pull away. And I think that's 4 straight Sweet 16s for Rick Barnes with the Volunteers at Tennessee. It was an epic day of college basketball, and really, the ball got rolling on Saturday night, where you had that wild ending between Vanderbilt and Nebraska, where Nebraska takes a 2-point lead, and that place, that building in Oklahoma City, it was rocking. That was an elite crowd. Go Big Red. The Nebraska Cornhusker fans are some of the best fans in the country, and obviously they won their opening round game. It's their first NCAA tournament victory in the history of the men's basketball team for Nebraska. And for them to go to the Sweet 16 is very impressive because Vanderbilt was red hot going into this NCAA tournament. A lot of people were buying into the Commodores. I actually picked Nebraska to beat Vanderbilt, and I had Nebraska in my Sweet 16. But that ending of that Nebraska-Vanderbilt game, we'll get into more of it later, how Vanderbilt almost won on a little more than a half-court shot. It was shades of Gordon Hayward and Butler. It was just unbelievable how that ball did not go in. And I don't know about you, Garrett. I saw a side-by-side of the Dylan Darling ending for St. John's, where it's like 4/10 of a second left, and his arm is all the way out here. And you're thinking to yourself, when your arm with the basketball is all the way out here, that shot's not going to go in, even though it was a layup. And then they had the other shot from the night before of Nebraska-Vanderbilt with, I think it was 1/10 of a second left. The ball is what, three quarters of the way down, if not more. And how that ball didn't go in and it pops out, that kind of shows you the NCAA tournament. Like, if I had to design the one shining moment right now, there's probably 3 to 4 moments that you're going to think of. Kentucky against Santa Clara with that half-court shot going in, that's in one shining moment. Obviously, the Dylan Darling layup is in. The Nebraska-Vanderbilt, even though that shot doesn't go in, they gotta show it in one shining moment, because the theatrics It was one of the more entertaining things I've ever seen, where the Nebraska players, they're all looking at the ball and they're like, oh my God, we're cursed. Oh my God. And then the one Vanderbilt player, remember that coach? I think his name was Ron Hunter, Georgia Southern or Georgia State, where his son was also on the team. And I think he had an Achilles injury or something. Yeah. And he's coaching in the chair and he falls out of his chair when the son hits the game-winning shot. That was on the reverse end, in the not so nice way. Basically, Vanderbilt, that one player, he flew across the baseline and just face down, hands on his head, that he couldn't believe. So those are 3 or 4 moments. Also, the kid yesterday, hitting that shot for Iowa, Alvaro Folgueras. Those 4 moments, I would say, is what would be the bread and butter through the first weekend. When you get 2 more weeks into this and you're at the Final Four in Indianapolis and you're getting ready to cut down the nets, and see who ends up winning this championship.
Oh, no, those are the moments you live for. Those are the moments that make the tournament. And, you guys really felt like it sucks for Vanderbilt because you were right there. Like, that ball literally went in, but that meant the world to Nebraska. That crowd, dude, I don't think people – I haven't seen Nebraska football good in a while, but I remember those crowds being like that. And for them to finally be able to display what they can bring, I know it's basketball. It only makes you think, if they're actually good at football again, what the hell they can bring and travel. They locked Oklahoma City down, dude. That was surreal, the crowd that they brought there.
So obviously through the last few years, through my connection with Matt Rule, I've really been introduced on a personal basis to Nebraska fans.
Yeah.
And the first time I went out to Nebraska, into Lincoln, was Matt's first year. They're playing Michigan. Mm-hmm. They got steamrolled. It was the year that Michigan did go on to, I'm pretty sure, win the national championship. Like, they just got abused. Absolutely abused in the game. Before the game, for a program that didn't have a good team, right? New coaches coming in, that they know it's a rebuilding process. The Go Big Red chants before a regular season game in Lincoln, Nebraska, early on in a tenure, really no hope or optimism. You have Michigan coming in. You know you're going to get slaughtered. Those fans show up no matter what, and they're deafening loud. And the night before, it was a regret that I had. Matt said, go to our women's volleyball game. And I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I was like, women's volleyball.
No, it's different there.
I am a football guy, NFL, college football, right? I'm a man's man. I'm not going to a women's volleyball game. Like, that's what I thought. I'm going to go to a steakhouse or something that Friday night before. The next time I go to Lincoln, if it lines up that there's a women's volleyball game, I got to go. Oh, because those crowds look absolutely electric. And then just the appreciation of the basketball team this year. And Hoiberg has done a very good job with that program through the last few years. And right, he has such an interesting past, coaching in college, having success, then going to the NBA, then coming back to college. He goes to Nebraska, and he has that program doing things that they have literally never done before. This year, they had a great start. It's kind of fitting for Nebraska. Down the stretch, you think, it's all going to come crumbling in, caving in. This is going to be the highlight of our season, was the start. They then win their opening game of the NCAA tournament. Awesome, right? And if Nebraska would have lost to Vanderbilt, I don't think people would have been incensed and outraged, because it was, okay, we finally got that monkey off our back. But when they hit that shot to go up with 2.4 seconds left, you better win the game. And now to have them dancing in the Sweet 16, and you heard those crowds through the television. I think it was the Texas game was the game before, and even during that game, you're hearing the Go Big Red chants. They may not have the best history in the athletics department. Clearly, Nebraska football was a huge player, with Coach Osborne and all that, and they're trying to build that back. Frost was a disaster. Matt has them in back-to-back bowl games, and we'll see what they're going to be able to do moving forward. But my, oh my, those fans, seriously, in terms of energy, passion, dedication, heartbreak, I don't think it's crazy to say second to none in all of college sports.
No, it's really not. My only experience that I've ever really had with Nebraska fans, this is going back a long time, dude, was back. I remember when their football team would come into Waco at Floyd Casey, and it was just the Waco turned red. Like it was just a sea of red, literally. And I imagine they're going to travel to, like, if you're already in Oklahoma City, you're easily going to make your way to Houston for that. That easy. Iowa and Nebraska game is going to be absolutely ridiculous. I personally forgot Ben McCollum was coaching at Iowa. Dude, Iowa's a damn basketball school now. Is just fascinating. I know it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but dude, them men's and women's, like, something's cooking up there.
Well,
dude.
How about this? Fran McCaffrey, who's a very good coach. He's taken 4 or 5 different schools to the NCAA tournament. Just took Penn to the NCAA tournament. He was there, 17 years?
Wow.
Never got to the second round. Ben McCollum comes in, and you know his story, right? Winning on smaller levels, then gets the Drake job and gets them into the NCAA tournament. And now he lands at Iowa.
Yeah.
And he has them in his first season in the NCAA tournament and winning 2 games. And not only winning 2 games, taking down Florida.
Yeah.
Florida, like, we looked at the NCAA tournament and we looked at the 4 number 1 seeds. What did we all said when they came out? Duke could go down. Even though everyone thinks Duke's the best team in the country, Duke could go down because of how tough their region is. Then we looked at Arizona. It was Arizona, their first test is going to probably be Arkansas. Now we're going to see that in the Sweet 16. For Michigan, that's the easiest road out of all the number 1 seeds. But then you looked at Florida, and you didn't really think of Florida going down until potentially the Elite 8 if you have a rematch of a national championship game, if that matchup were to occur with Florida and Houston. No one was saying Florida was going down in the first weekend. Maybe they get upset in the Sweet 16. Not to get to the first weekend when you have to beat a 16 and then you have Iowa. Like, no one thought that was happening.
No, not at all. I thought Florida would make it to Houston. I was expecting Houston to get their revenge there in the Sweet 16. But look, Todd Golden's a tremendous coach. He's got Florida on the right trajectory, but hats off to the Big Ten in general. I think they're making a statement right now as like making a push to become the number 1 conference without a doubt across all sports.
You bring up a good point, by the way, with now that site in that region going to Houston. This may sound crazy because the Cougars are in their own backyard. If we get Nebraska-Houston, you would think it would be a home court advantage for Houston.
I don't know, man.
I'm not down in those Go Big Red fans. I actually may think Houston in their own backyard, if Nebraska gets through and beats Iowa, and there's some good history from this season with Hoiberg and the fans of Iowa and that slap video. So Nebraska, Iowa, for the next few days, I can't wait to just see all the social media memes because those 2 fan bases, I know what it's like for football. They hate one another. Now it's like, hey, for basketball, we get to hate one another. That's a big time rivalry. But if you do see Nebraska beat Iowa and they go to the Elite 8 with the trip to the Final 4 on the line, and they're going up against Houston, I don't care if the game is in Houston's backyard. I have all the respect in the world for Kelvin Sampson. They should get back to the Final 4. They could win a national championship this year, but that may be a road game in their home city with how passionate those Go Big Red fans are.
No, I don't doubt it. And Houston's also one of those schools where even like having to travel to San Antonio, the brief little stint that is, that fan base is small. Like, they don't travel like that. So even in Houston, you're sitting there where LSU makes up a vast majority of the fans in the city. You got Texas, you got A&M. Yeah, dude, easily Nebraska could roll into H-Town and just have way more fans pack that center than them.
So Todd Golden, I never really had a reason to hate him or dislike him. And I understand, right, there's serious allegations. But and I remember covering that stuff. So I'm just talking about the way he coaches.
Right.
He won a championship last year. I grew up and I remember Florida with Billy Donovan winning back-to-back national championships. And you had some of those players like Corey Brewer and Joakim Noah and Al Horford, right? Like, I remember those teams and liking those teams. And Florida basketball then was a vibe and it was fun. And since then, right, they hired Mike White. He didn't work. They eventually go get Todd Golden. And Todd Golden comes in, and let's be real, I know he's at San Francisco. No one could have predicted that Todd Golden was going to go to Florida and go win a national championship. Like, it's not inconceivable, but it wasn't something that people were expecting and that people were thinking. So Todd Golden wins that championship last year. And Garrett, I think you would agree, when you look back at that run for Florida and you had the kid Walter Clayton Jr., like, it was generally celebrated.
Yes.
It felt like a feel-good story. And I didn't walk away from that saying, I hate that son of a bitch, Todd Golden. But I'll tell you yesterday, when his player aggressively ripped that ball away, and then Fulgaris, to his credit, probably should have got ejected because he threw a punch, but it didn't land. You don't want to see a kid get ejected like that. I thought it was a hard rip away of the basketball, and it was just retaliation. But you have Golden stomping and crying and pouting. Wah! But what he did at the end of the game, I couldn't believe his explanation afterwards. They're up by 2. He said in the postgame, I'll get to it in just a second, they were trying to foul. You're up 2. So, like, if you're up by 3, I get the strategy. You don't want a 3-point shot to get off. You foul, you send them to the charity stripe. Did you, like, I understand pressure, and Seth Greenberg once told me free throws are free. Go hit them, dummy. But I'm not putting a kid on the line down 2. You know, I mean, up 2. I'm not putting a kid on the line to see, oh, hopefully he misses one, then we get the ball back. But that was his strategy, or at least that's what he said after the game. And then his defense, it's almost as if the strategy was so stupid that the defense kind of had just a mental funk because they're like, why the heck are we going to foul?
Right.
And then you let a kid be wide open and he hits a 3. And then after that, because I don't think they had a timeout, but they were looking to see how much clock was left, and they had to add some timeout, which is, I forget who was doing the game, but the color analyst, it may have been Lapis, I forget who it was. They said, you know, that's kind of like ridiculous over something that's so minuscule that now maybe you just have the referees not like hold the team so you don't have a timeout. You can't talk to your players.
That's something they need to address.
But they were able to set it up.
Yep.
And the kid that transferred in from Princeton, Lee, he was passing the ball with like 1.2 seconds left when he's under the basket. So Golden, championship coach, right? If Hubert Davis gets fired from UNC, we'll get to more about that in just a second. Yeah, Todd Golden's going to be getting a call from UNC. I would imagine he probably stays at Florida. And I'm not saying this guy's a crap coach, but the antics with McCollum, and McCollum is so much more likable than Golden. And then just the strategy down the stretch in the final 10 seconds or so, 15 seconds or so, whatever it was, Garrett, I thought it was a bad look yesterday for Todd Golden.
No, it was. I mean, that's kind of the things we've seen from him in the past. He's got good moments. I think he's still learning on the fly there. I think that's one of those where the situation, the pressure got to him. I think if given back, he would probably handle that strategy and that whole sequence differently. But I think that's one where you just kind of get caught up in the moment, and where you should be the leader, it just gets away from you, honestly.
So let's hear from Todd Golden about his team being the defending national champs and going out in the round of 34 as they did get, the round of 32 as they did get eliminated yesterday in the NCAA tournament. They'll not be going to the Sweet 16.
A disappointing result for us tonight. Thought credit Iowa. Thought they played well, especially in the first half. Had us on our heels a little bit. And I thought they were physically tougher than us in the first half, and took a little bit for us to regain our footing. And then they got off to a good start in the second half. And really proud of our guys and the way we fought. Obviously, came back and took the lead. Got up by as many as I think we were up 3 or 4 at one point late in the second half, and just did a poor job executing on both ends in the last 2 minutes. I thought, obviously on the last play, we wanted to take a foul to prevent them from getting off a 3, and they got away from us. We weren't able to take it, and they knocked it down, so credit to them for that. And just a tough way to go out, but really proud of my group. I love these guys. They did a great job for us all year, gaining the second 1 seed in a row. And a tough one for us to swallow. And, we'll be thinking about this one for a while.
Am I crazy here, Garrett? Because that's my takeaway from that clip. And I know that it's maybe said rushed after a game, so who knows? I don't know if there was a follow-up, if there was clarification. He's up by 2.
Yeah.
He was up by 2 when they hit that 3. And they're telling his team to foul there?
I don't know. Maybe you just don't trust your team. Maybe that's the only thing I think of. Like, you're not trusting your defense to make a stop, and you're thinking we have a better chance of having them like miss a free throw. I don't know how you can justify it, honestly.
I think he's saying he didn't trust Iowa to hit a free throw. Now, I'm just going to do this on the spot because I haven't thought about it until now. Mm-hmm. I don't remember the free throw disparity. Yeah, Iowa was 64% from the charity stripe, so right. 14 of 22. But, man, the kid that probably would have got the ball was 3 of 4 from the charity stripe. Because I'm going to assume it starts, I believe is how you say his name. Yeah. He's probably getting the ball in that spot. He's an 84.2% free throw shooter. When he was at Drake, he was 79.4%. So the odds of him missing 2 in that spot, could the pressure get to him? Sure. But that I would rather lock up defensively. And if you get beat on a 3, you get beat on a 3, so be it. But don't let the look be wide open. And probably Iowa in that spot, I would imagine if you just locked up and played defense, they're probably trying to drive and go for 2 and tie the game.
Yeah, that's what I would do. That's a smart play. You don't need to take a 3 in that situation. Go and try to get the foul and go get an old school 3.
Yes, so that was wild. Now, you'll see a trend yesterday. Iowa and Florida. Iowa was the better team for most of the game. Got tight late. Iowa pulled it out. Mm-hmm. St. John's, Kansas. St. John's was the better team for most of the game. Got tight late. St. John's pulled it out. Tennessee, Virginia. I thought Tennessee was the better team for most of the game. Got tight late. Tennessee pulled it out. Like, you had the basketball gods, and it doesn't always work this way, but rewarding the team that was better for the majority of the 40 minutes. But let's get to St. John's, who's going to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 1999. Rick Pitino, one of the best coaches in the history of college basketball. That game, though, yesterday, Garrett, I'm watching it. And it was a game where for the majority of it, St. John's, it was sloppy, it was ugly, it was tough to watch, but St. John's for the majority of the game was bullying Kansas, and Zuby Ejiofor could do whatever he wanted. And I'm watching this, I go, okay, the Johnnies are going to win, and the next thing you look up and you go, oh my God, they may lose this game, where it's going to give you a feeling of, and I know different circumstances, but last year they lost to Arkansas in the round of 32, and it's like, they could have won that game up against the Razorbacks, and maybe this is just what's going to happen with St. John's and Pitino, where they could just get to the round of 32, and then they look like they could win these games, and then they just crumble and crash at the end. But I'd be lying to you when it got to about like 30 seconds left, 40 seconds left, with how bad that St. John's offense was through stretches of that game, and no one on the other side, at least Darren Peterson, had a pulse for Kansas as the game did go on. I said, if this game gets to overtime, like if I had to look at a live line, I can't bet on St. John's here in New York, just with the restrictions of the apps, but I would have thought to myself, okay, if the game gets to overtime, Kansas is going to win, but then Dylan Darling ends up being the hero, and his only 2 points in the game were the game-winning layup, and it was kind of one of those moments where you're watching it. I'm sitting on my couch, and I want to see St. John's win. I know their athletic director, Eddie Cole. I live in New York. St. John's, for most of my life, has not been relevant. Anytime you used to go to the Garden, it was A, for the Big East tournament, or B, it was to go see who was the big opponent that St. John's was playing. And I've always loved Pitino. There's something about him with his swagger and his bravado the white suits. And actually, the Italian restaurant that I went down to at the Shore, Chef Vola's, which is a top 10 meal in my estimation, one of the best meals I've ever had, and I've been there multiple times, but it's this old school Italian restaurant. We had this great Italian salad to start off. Like, it reminds me of my grandmother, just the presentation and the wooden bowl and the wooden spoon and all that. Then we got some peppers and mozzarella wrapped in prosciutto. Then we also got linguine and clam sauce, which, the butter on that is just sensational. Then we get the big veal parm chops, and then banana cream pie. There was all these other desserts too, and a bunch of wine. Like the table next to us, they're celebrating a birthday. They got the handle of Tito's. They got bottles of wine. I'm there with my buddy, his girlfriend, my girlfriend. We brought 2 bottles of wine as well. And I'm sitting there. My wine cup is, almost done. We went through the wine. My girlfriend wanted some more red. So I'm like, the veal parm's coming out. I got to be a good boyfriend. I got to give my glass of wine to my girlfriend, and I'm SOL out of luck. So I, knowing my speaking skills, I see a big bottle of Tito's. I see a rowdy kind of Italian family. The birthday cake comes out to sing happy birthday to them. I go, take a shot of Tito's, because I knew that handle of Tito's wasn't getting finished because they're on dessert. So they look at me, they go, oh, thanks for wishing us happy birthday. You want a shot? Take a shot.
Absolutely.
Next thing you know, they go, hey, we have a half bottle of red left. You want it? We're not going to drink it. Boom. I get my wine for the veal parm. Lou, the owner, is tremendous and runs a great establishment, and that place has been around for years. But there's been so many people. Sinatra used to dine there. They have the Sinatra room. Joe Montana has been there countless times. Jay-Z has been there a bunch. So a wide range of people that know how good this Italian spot is. And it is like one part of the dining room was their house, and you go down into the cellar. It is just awesome. It's such a cool vibe. It's one of my favorite restaurants. But I'm talking to the owner, Lou, who, I've seen through the years, but we never had like a great conversation. Right. And by the way, can I let you know a little secret? Remember Martelli told us the carrot cake?
Yes, the carrot cake. I was going to ask about the carrot cake.
So this is how Lou and I started talking. I go to the waitress. I've never had carrot cake in my life. I'm told this place has a great carrot cake. And she goes, we don't have carrot cake. We've never had it on the menu.
What?
So Lou comes over, and one of the best people, like an owner of a restaurant, if you're running a restaurant, follow whatever Lou Esposito has done. And he goes to me, how do you know Phil Martelli? I go, I host a talk show. I've been interviewing Phil for years. I'm also, I know Matt Rule well. They have a picture of Matt and Phil on the wall. Matt and Lou, on the wall. And he goes, I actually remember when Martelli's come in, I don't think it was carrot cake. And he brings out the other cake. It was like this apple cinnamon. Oh, it was so freaking good. So then we start talking. We're exchanging stories. I kid you not, for like an hour.
Dude.
Like, when you just meet someone and you hit a vibe. So he starts telling me about Pitino. And in my state, I remember the tweet. Pitino, when he was at Iona, they had their conference tournament, used to be at, in Atlantic City. Mm-hmm. He went to Chef Vola's, and I know this place. So when I see someone tweet about it, I have a comment under the tweet about the veal parm. Like, hopefully you got the veal parm, coach. So he starts saying this tweet, and I go, no, I remember the tweet. I'm 95% sure I commented on it. So I think I brought some luck to St. John's, because I was at Pitino's favorite restaurant on Saturday, and they end up winning the game on Sunday. But when that darling shot, oh, this is how we do a show. When that darling shot at the end of that game, I'm like, no, yes, awesome, screaming in my apartment, going nuts. But it's the kids' only 2 points in the game.
Yep.
And my favorite part about it, he calls the kid Bells, because earlier in the season in January, he goes, that kid has balls as big as church bells. Isn't that amazing that the coach calls this kid, Dylan Darling, who was at like South Idaho State or whatever he was last year, he calls this kid Bells because his balls are as big as church bells, because the cojones are más grande in the big situation, and boom, his only 2 points in the game put St. John's in the Sweet 16.
I think it's more remarkable that it's Pitino that you got that kind of bond with, and you're getting that kind of representation and acknowledgement from him. That's just somebody, like, because he's seen so many players. Yeah. He's had so many, but for him to say you got the balls like that, that's saying a lot.
So let's hear on Rick Pitino on Dylan Darling's game winner as the Johnnies are off to the Sweet 16.
But here's the amazing thing and the funniest thing I've ever been involved with. So we're going to run a play, but they got fouls to give. And Bells comes up to me and says, run power, which is a high back screen pick and roll. So I walk away. I said, okay, power. I walk away and said, wait a second. He hasn't scored a bucket, and he wants to run a play for himself. And I'm thinking as I'm walking, I said, but he's Bells. And not only did he do it, he went with his right hand. So I'm real proud of him, because to want the ball when you haven't made a shot is unbelievable. So both of these guys had a major impact in us winning tonight. I'm so happy for St. John's and the fans. We had great fans out here. And we get to go to D.C., and I'm just so jubilant, so happy for the fellas. We've taken it another step now, so it's just awesome. Proud of our guys, and now it's just starting. The fun's just starting.
I know all these coaches, they wear jumpsuits, and Pitino then changes after the game. But there's something about a coach that still wears a suit, sounds like Rick Pitino, and then could tell a story like that, Garrett, where it's, this kid has 0 points, and he comes up to me saying, no, we're going to run power or whatever it was. We're going to get the ball to me. And I'm like, what the F is this kid talking about? Like, I'm effing Rick Pitino. And you're going to tell me what to do when you have 0 points? But I'm like, wait, in January, I said his balls are as big as church bells. So he's bells. Let's give him the rock. And then he makes that right-handed layup to win the game. Epic.
It's remarkable. That's remarkable. That's one that they're going to share forever. They're always going to be going back to that. But yeah, it's just the play itself, having to do the hand you're not strong with, make that moment is probably going to be synonymous for St. John's for quite some time.
And then let's get to Pitino. This was from January, where he gave the kid the nickname Bells.
Never broke. They just stayed with it. Dylan Dawkins, he's got balls as big as church bells. I mean, it's unbelievable. Bryce Hopkins made big plays. Ian kept us in the game in the first half. So it was a great team performance.
You want to know why Pitino loves this stuff so much? There's just certain guys that this will never get old for them. Like Larry Brown, Garrett. When he got fired, I forget which stop, he was coaching CYO basketball. Mm-hmm. I have 2 friends, Matt Sherman and Austin Marshall. I forget which stop it was for Larry Brown. When Larry Brown was out of a job for like 6 or 7 months, he was coaching them in CYO local basketball, local youth league basketball. And when I first met Larry Brown, he was at SMU, the head basketball coach. And Temple was playing SMU in the same conference. So I emailed the sports information director and I said, hey, Larry Brown coming back, Philadelphia area, it's a big deal. Can I meet you at your practice the day before, and can I get like 10 minutes with him? And I said to him, I go, you may not remember this, but you coached 2 of my friends, Matt Sherman and Austin Marshall. And he goes, Big AJ. Like, he remembered these 2 guys that he was coaching after taking the Sixers to a championship game, NBA Finals, winning an NBA championship with the Pistons. He's remembering these 2 guys when they were like 8 years old, coaching them in youth league. But that's what there's this certain old guard of coaching.
Yeah.
That they're great at talking, great at storytelling, and they will do this until either they die or the sport doesn't let them do it anymore. And you look at Pitino, when it ended at Louisville, he was coaching in Greece.
Yeah.
Rick freaking Pitino was coaching in Greece, and he goes, I need to get back in college. I'm going to go to Iona. He's like, I'm sorry, Rick Pitino didn't belong at Iona.
No,
and all these schools had multiple chances to ignore how it ended at Louisville and hire him, and how many times the schools ignored things to go win. And the program that took a shot on him was St. John's, to give him one last chance. And to see him turn that program around, back-to-back NCAA tournaments, back-to-back Big East tournament championships, and now have him to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 1999. And the way that you could just see the joy. And some people may say it's egotistical. Some people may say it's selfish. But the joy that Pitino has is such a special thing. And I hope he coaches until as long as he wants to, because the sport is better when Rick Pitino is in it, and Rick Pitino is not only in it, but in March Madness and winning games.
No, it is. It's also remarkable to see how he's one of those people that is able to adapt. Like everything has changed around him, and he's just kind of found a way to find, this is my style, this is my philosophy, and I'm going to make it work in the current landscape. I'm not going to let it drive me away. He's in the perfect spot. He's got the perfect funding there at St. John's, and it's cool to see him have the success, almost a renaissance for his career.
So look at this afterwards. He's in the hotel lobby afterwards. And he's got a group of fans around him. And this is like the Pope just showing up somewhere and saying, hey, I want to hold court. This is Rick Pitino. Pope Pitino, let's call him.
The reason I put him in the game, Ian didn't block out twice. So I get him in the game, but the coach just said he hasn't scored a bucket. I said, it's okay. Now I got fouls to give. 3.9, we're supposed to run sideline, look opposite for a shot. He grabs me and says, not enough time, run power for me. So yeah.
Big church bells. Bells are ringing.
I said, kid hasn't made a shot. And he fakes going left, goes to his right hand.
Yeah, switch hands.
No longer big bells, balls as big as church bells. Now Godzilla bells.
Garrett, this is like a stand-up comedian. For him at that age to command a room like that and has all those fans, boosters, whatever, donors, eating out of the palm of his hand, whatever he wants to say, and you see the shit-eating grin on his face.
Yes.
Oh, he got bells. He had no points in the game. We call power. We want him to get the basketball. And they're all sitting there. Oh, bells, yeah. And then he waits for the punchline. He's Godzilla. He's no longer church bells. He's got balls as big as Godzilla, and then walks away. I freaking love Rick Pitino. I don't care what you say about him. I don't care if the guys beat your brains in 1,000 times. This sport is so much better when Rick Pitino is in it. Rick Pitino's in March Madness. Rick Pitino's winning games. Rick Pitino's in the Sweet 16. And quite frankly, when they play Duke, you got nothing to lose. Most people think Duke's going to beat you. Duke can get got. They're not the healthiest team in the country. I think Duke is the best team in the country, but you're going to have to play better offensively. But Pitino, amongst any coach left in the tournament, if I could put any roster with Pitino, I think he's the best coach remaining. I think he is, and that's no disrespect to Dan Hurley. Right now is the face of the sport. No disrespect to Izzo. No disrespect to Dusty May, who got FAU at one point to the freaking Final Four. Who's a better coach? He probably won't win it all. He may not even beat Duke. But who's a better coach than Rick Pitino? Wear the effing white suit. Show up against Duke in D.C. and just wear that white suit and coach. You give me a Rick Pitino team. What he's done at St. John's is simply unbelievable. At his age, too, where his career was at, and you thought that legendary career was over with. He's coaching in Greece and Iona, and now he has this last chapter at St. John's. It's remarkable. It's unbelievable. But also, how the heck did all these other schools with all these other big programs, with how many schools ignore certain things of the past, how didn't they hire Rick Pitino when he was practically sitting there and imploring the sport to get him back in it? It really does beat me, Garrett.
No, it really is. And I think there's a lot of people regretting that. I think there's a lot of people who were nervous and think the game passed him by. And there's the trend of we got to go with these younger guys and be relatable. I'm sorry. That dude walks into my living room trying to recruit my kid. I'm probably going to say, yeah, go with him right now. Like, that was remarkable what he's able to do. He, like I mentioned a while ago, he's adapts. He can do anything, any style of basketball, any scenario. He's seen it. It's just really remarkable to see the success he's having. And I hope that we get them in UConn one more time.
Oh,
dude, I want them in UConn.
And those two coaches hate each other, too.
They hate each other. That would be cinematic.
Tell me who's a better coach than Pitino remaining in this tournament. Shire? Just
No.
speak. Just speak if you think you've heard a better coach. Tommy Lloyd, John Calipari.
Arguable.
Okay, so let's put Calipari in the hopper. Sean Miller,
No.
Matt Painter,
No.
Dusty May.
I need to see more, but he's a damn good coach.
Yeah, and he got to win a championship, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about Pitino,
Yeah.
and he could do it this year. Nate Oates,
No.
Rick Barnes,
No.
TJ Otzelberg,
He's getting there, but he hasn't won nothing yet.
Brad Underwood,
No.
Kelvin Sampson,
He hasn't won a championship. No.
Fred Hoiberg,
No.
Ben McCollum,
No.
Dan Hurley,
Yeah.
You think Hurley's better than Pitino?
I mean, I'm not saying he's better, but he's got multiple championships. He's got them right back in it again. They're freaking really good. It's kind of the same philosophy with Calipari. He's up there with them.
Tom Izzo?
No, he's got the one championship, but that was too long ago.
So you would say probably, if you look at history, right? Like, do I think Dusty May could go on to win a championship at Michigan? Yes. Sean Miller is a heck of a coach. But I would say, if you said to most people, based off history, who are the 4 best coaches in this tournament? You have Calipari, you got Pitino, you got Hurley, and you got Izzo, right? How do we rank those 4? I would say Pitino's 1. I would
put Hurley. 2.
I would say Hurley's 2, Calipari's 3, and Izzo's 4.
Yeah. And I think you would have a lot of people, but it's hard to, without a championship, what Sampson's done and is remarkable. But if we're talking like caliber, championships, it backs it up, then yeah.
And I said this before the tournament started. Kelvin Sampson has already turned around his career.
Remarkable.
And when I think of Kelvin Sampson, I think great. And there's very few coaches that I could say are great that don't have a championship. But what he's done, the only thing missing what he's done at Houston is winning a championship.
Exactly.
So if you just took coaches with the championship, would Izzo be in front of Calipari just because the players aren't as great that Izzo has to work with? And Calipari from Memphis to Kentucky, I know now he's at Arkansas, but really Memphis and Kentucky, he's had some incredible rosters, and he's only won 1 championship. And Izzo's only won 1 championship.
That's fair. The unique thing in that one, too, is Izzo's done it at one spot. Like, it's hard to be at one place as long as Izzo has been there. That's honestly, dude, that would make a good poll question.
You know why I would actually lean, if we're talking totality, why I would lean Calipari?
Why's that?
UMass.
Yeah.
Look what he did you put that guy anywhere, the guy wins. You could put Tom Izzo anywhere and he would win. But I would probably say those 4 coaches that have a Division I championship as a head coach that are remaining in this tournament, right? I don't think we missed anybody else.
No, I'm trying to think.
I just want to make sure that we're not, Shire as a player assistant, but no. Pitino, yes. Izzo, yes. Hurley, yes. McCollum, not on this level, no. Hoiberg, no. Underwood, no. Sampson, no. TJ, no. Barnes, no. Oates, no. Dusty, no. Painter, no. Sean Miller, no. Yeah, we got all of them. Tommy Lloyd, no. Calipari. So I would say 1 would be Pitino. 2 would be Hurley. 3 would be Calipari. And 4 would be Coach Izzo. Look at these coaches we got left in this tournament.
That's the fun part. Is you got like some legends that are still cooking right now.
Well, just in the East, we just talked about 4 coaches.
Yeah.
Just in the East, you have Shire, Pitino. You got Izzo going up against Hurley. Then you have Iowa, Nebraska, Hoiberg and McCollum. That's a great matchup. Then you got Underwood and Sampson, 2 guys that have been around forever. You got Barnes and TJ, and we know Barnes, as he gets later in the tournament, that's where he starts to crumble. You got 2 of the younger coaches in the sport, and 2 of the younger, hotter coaches in the sport in Dusty May, who's going to join us, by the way, tomorrow on the show, and Nate Oates. You got Matt Painter, who's been there forever, and he's been a solid coach. You got Sean Miller, who Xavier and Arizona, it hasn't always been clean, but the guy wins. And then you got Tommy Lloyd going up against Calipari. Like, you know what? It really annoys me. People the first 3 days of the tournament be like, oh, the tournament's shit. Oh, Cinderella's are no more. We get no buzzer beaters. And then you get a day like we get yesterday in the tournament. And now you get those 16 teams remaining. I'm not saying all these games are going to be close, but what's the bad matchup? Duke St. John's, Arizona, Arkansas, Texas, Purdue, Michigan State, UConn, Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, Houston, Tennessee, Iowa State, Michigan, Alabama. Like, there's not a matchup I look at and I go, that's not a good matchup.
But also, I would counter the argument, and I know where we're coming from, but the 2 Cinderellas are there. They just happen to be Big Ten schools, and they happen to be facing each other. That's the thing. And I think that's the shift, is you're seeing with more money going to these conferences, and that's why I think you're seeing the talk of having, which I hate expanding the tournament, and I think there's always should be a place for the underdog in the mid-majors. But now you're seeing the shift.
Who would you consider your Cinderellas in this tournament?
I would say right now, if you're looking at it, Nebraska, because they've never been here, you're in this situation, and then Iowa. Well, they're not traditional quote-unquote Cinderellas, but if you look at the current landscape, there are two programs we've never seen or imagined being here. They just are taking advantage of great coaching and funding.
In the new way of like if I had to think two teams
Right,
that I just did not expect to be here, and I had Nebraska going to the Sweet 16.
I did
so,
too.
As a 4 seed, I can't call them a Cinderella. I would say it's Iowa, who is a 9 seed. Like, you're not expecting a 9 seed to be in the Sweet 16. And then, Cinderella is a weird term because you don't expect it to be a big brand.
Right.
Texas.
That's a damn good point. Yes.
As an 11.
Yeah.
Texas.
In a play-in game, too. They had to play their way in.
Playing game. They then beat the Bansa, and then they beat Gonzaga.
Yeah.
There's a 9 and an 11 in this Final Four. All right, so there's not, a 12 or a 13 or a 14. But you know what this tells me? We're going to have a great rest of the NCAA because you have so many of these big home run hitters where if we get to a Final Four and you look at the possibilities, right, you could have Nebraska, Iowa, Houston, Illinois. One team emerges there going up against Duke, St. John's, Michigan State, UConn.
Yeah.
Like,
what else could you ask for?
Even if the game doesn't stink, the storylines, and even if the Final Four game does stink, like let's say you got Houston up against Duke, and Duke just runs them off the court. All right? Like they get their revenge, okay, fine. But still, how we got there is going to be of epic proportions. And then you look at the other side. I told you before the tournament started, one matchup I wanted to see was Arizona-Arkansas. Mm-hmm. So I have Arizona-Arkansas and Texas-Purdue. And then you have Michigan-Alabama and Tennessee-Iowa State. This is a tournament to me. I'll ask you this, and I know we got to take a break.
I'll forget.
Your bracket, you told me this before the show, so it's funny. I'm going to be truthful here. Mm-hmm. May get me in some trouble. I've only paid attention to the brackets I have money in. I submit one bracket, but I put it out there on multiple sites. Right. So for Compass Media Networks, I think I'm like 8th in the standings. For WFAN, I think I'm 3rd. And my uncle's brother does a bracket with like 40 people. I'm 1st in that one. Same bracket. I forgot Corey Dickman had me submit a bracket, and everyone here on 365 Sports is participating. You're telling me, I think you said this before the show, I'm in 1st and you're in 1st?
It's you and me, brother. We're tied. I'm coming for you.
Do you have the standings?
I do. Let me pull it up real quick.
Okay, pull up the standings because I would like to see in terms of the our network, because there's fans involved, listeners involved, and then there's like people that work for the company. In terms of on-air talent through the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, assuming if your information is correct, I think we could claim that we are the most knowledgeable college basketball show here.
I would say so. And then you have Craig is in 3rd. And then
where's Paul? Someone said in the YouTube comments that Paul was kicking ass.
No, I think that's mine under his email.
Oh.
It says my name on there because I accidentally messed that up when I put the thing in. Yeah, so it's you, me, tied for 1st.
Yeah, Rhett said
General
Zach
Ursus.
and Catalina are kicking ass in and tied in the 365 bracket. So Paul is getting credit for your work, but that's you.
Yes, that's my name.
Look at us. Look at us right now. Look at us now. Now we could still not win. I have been in first place after the first weekend of the tournament. So who was your final? I think mine was chalky, but I said I thought this was going to be a year of chalk in the Final Four. So I had Duke. I had Duke and Houston, Arizona. With Houston beating Duke, and then I had Arizona, which I swapped last minute. I had Arkansas in there, but I put Arizona in there, and then I had Michigan with Michigan playing Houston and Michigan winning it all. You had the same thing?
Yeah, I have Houston winning it all, beating Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So that could be pretty well for us. Now, just taking a look, early spreads. Purdue is a 6.5-point favorite up against Texas. Nebraska is a 1.5-point favorite up against Iowa. Arizona is a 7.5-point favorite up against Arkansas. Illinois and Houston. Houston is a 3.5-point favorite. That's on Thursday. For Friday, St. John's, Duke. Duke is a 6.5-point favorite. Alabama, Michigan. Michigan's a 10.5-point favorite. UConn, Michigan State. The Huskies are a 2.5-point favorite. Iowa State and Tennessee. Iowa State is a 4.5-point favorite. If I could say to you, Garrett, you could swap out one of your Final Four teams, like through what you've seen.
Right.
If you could say, I may want to make a change and put another team in there, who would that team be? Would you have one that you would swap out?
No. I mean, I might consider Duke, but I was really impressed with Michigan. I'm not gonna lie. That was the first time watching Michigan all season for me.
Oh, really? You didn't watch them against Duke when they played?
I've never seen them, dude. Like that, they are really big. They're really impressive. They're long, dude. They're well coached. I think I would just leave it as it is. I probably wouldn't pick Houston to win. I'm a little nervous, especially after watching that Michigan team. I think that would be a terrible matchup if they were to play. But I wouldn't change my Final Four.
Okay. Well, it is a Zach Gelb show right here on 365 Sports. We'll take a break. When we come on back, we will talk about the future of Hubert Davis, as I'm involved right in that story. We'll also get to the future of Bill Self. And Greg McDermott is walking away from Creighton, and he's going to be retiring. We'll get into the future of some of these coaches next.
The 4-burner, side sear burner with Clearview Glass stainless steel grill from Monument Grills. Made of tempered glass, which is strong, insulated, and allows you to check your grilling without lifting the lid. Our porcelain-coated cast iron cooking grids offer a large cooking surface of 513.3 square inches, primary cooking area, with even heat cooking. The Monument Grills include LED control knobs and are easy to light with pilotless electronic ignition. Better grilling, better value, Monument Grills.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
I'm Abby Dommett, 2023 CrossFit Games athlete, and I use Airwave because it helps me breathe easier and stay more relaxed during my workouts.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Very discreet.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports. When we get into the future of Hubert Davis, Garrett, when we left the show here on Friday, I said to myself, and I said it to Joel Berry when he joined us, I said, right now I think he should be fired, but I don't think he will be fired. And then over the weekend, I forget which insider it was, but they put out there, North Carolina's brass is huddling, they're meeting, discussing the future of Hubert Davis. When I saw that tweet, I quote tweeted and I said, he gone. Like, I do not expect Hubert Davis to be back as the UNC head coach. Do they just outright dismiss him? Do they say they have agreed to part ways? Does he resign? And there's like a hush-hush agreement behind the scenes. I don't know the way it will be presented. I was on a station today in Charlotte, North Carolina, WFNZ. They wanted to have me on because my opinion, I guess, is carrying weight in this UNC coaching search, where I threw out some names over the weekend. It did 500,000 views. We had on Joel Berry. I was just up watching the Field of 68's Tyler Hansborough reaction, UNC legend. when they did lose that opening round game to VCU, and I just pulled out there, and that thing, I don't know how many, it did like several 100,000 views as well. So my name's been coming up a lot, and a lot of these UNC fan sites are writing, Zach Gelb said this, Zach Gelb said that. So I went on with them, and they said, because I asked them, I said, do you guys think he's definitely going to get fired? They said, well, the wording, maybe not fire, but they said because he's a program legend and because of how long he's been there, maybe he'll resign, or, they're going to transition him into a new role. So that's kind of the feeling down there. I remember you said he needs to be fired on Friday. Was there a moment over the weekend, or did you leave Friday's show thinking he would be fired?
I left uncertain, honestly, and I felt more confident over the weekend that he was going to be fired when the news came out that they were canceling his radio show. When I saw that, I was like, okay, there's probably some traction. Then you started seeing more smoke over social media, people suggesting things. I personally, I would let him go. I stand on that. I kind of leaning that they're going to. I feel that's where this is heading. I know that there's a lot of talk about the women's tournament being hosted there, and they're wanting things to clear out. I'm interested to see how that all unfolds, but I kind of feel like his time is done. Now, I would be interested to see how they word it, because I think you bring up a really good point for the people in Charlotte. You don't want this to become a Scott Frost situation where you had a legend that you fired and then there's bad blood.
Yeah, but I don't think
at the same time,
I don't think Hubert Davis would talk negatively about the program.
Well, I'm not saying it like that, but I'm saying just
Scott Frost did.
Scott, he did.
You got to learn not to take the wrong job. Well, Scott, hey, buddy, you didn't have a problem putting the pen to paper and taking all those millions that the school gave you, and then having all this time to process what happened. And I'm not saying that you got to bend over and be like, oh, I screwed up, it was all me, but take some accountability.
Yeah.
I will give Hubert Davis that. I think he will take some accountability for what happened, unlike Scott Frost, who just thinks that he could just run free and never did anything wrong as the head coach of Nebraska.
I'm also seeing, like, if this does happen and they do let him go, like, I'm interested to see, because some people will, like, do the thing where they give back. Like, does he say, well, I'm going to give this portion, or I want all my damn money? Or is he, like, trying to help
well, if I was him,
stabilize the roster, you know what I'm saying, from a finance perspective.
And we talked about this. The buyout was $5 to $7 million, somewhere in that range of $5 to $7 million, which is not much in this college landscape. I will say, though, if I was in Hubert Davis's position, and I think Hubert Davis is wired differently than I am, if you don't want me to be the coach, I don't give a crap that I'm a legendary figure there. I'm making you fire me because I want all my money. Now, could we agree to come to some agreement? And if it's more in favor of me and you want to word it a special way, okay. If I have to take a little bit less, maybe. But if I'm not getting the majority of my money, F you. You're getting rid of me. Now, I think they have every right to get rid of him. I think they should get rid of him.
Yes.
I saw that Seth Greenberg was on with ESPN Radio's morning show today, and Seth Greenberg was saying, I think that right now why they're waiting so much is they're probably going to Hubert and they're saying, hey, you got to change your staff.
Yeah.
And he doesn't think Hubert will change his staff because it's all North Carolina guys. So I don't know if that's true or not, and if that's where it starts. But at this rate, I would be surprised if they come on out and they say Hubert Davis is coming back as the basketball coach. But I'll tell you this, I don't know, and this is where I struggle, because often social media is not a reflection of the true thoughts of society. Some of these UNC fans, though, that I've gone back and forth with, and I usually have the idea and the tendency and the knack to know when something's going to blow up.
Right.
When Joe Berry joined us, and you have a franchise, a program legend, a guy that was a Final Four MVP that played for the man. And like when you have Tyler Hansborough saying things, and I think those things are going to help the push to get him out.
Absolutely.
Because, I know Larry Brown comes out and releases a statement, I think Hubert Davis should be afforded another year. But when you have guys that Hansborough says it, and then Joel Berry basically said it with us, that stuff does carry weight and it pushes momentum. Because I told this to Joel after the interview. I said it to you before the interview. I said, I'm putting on Joel Berry. He does a great job at the ACC network. I've known Joel for years. I go, I hope he says something honest though, about Hubert Davis. Because I said this to Joel afterwards, I was impressed with him because I didn't know if he was going to give me his true thoughts on him because he has such a relationship. And you heard the pain in his voice and you heard how difficult it was. But when it's that ugly, and when the goal, you don't always have to win it, but when the goal is to be competitive, and when you start your tenure in the national championship game, you blow it, then you decline an invite to the NIT, then you get to a Sweet 16, but then since then, you're out in the round of 64. The standard's not there. And I understand you could say, oh, well, they had Caleb Wilson and he got hurt. Even if they had Caleb Wilson, maybe they beat VCU. I don't think UNC's going to a Final Four. I don't even know if they would have gone to an Elite Eight because that killer instinct, that step on the throat mentality that Tyler Hansborough was talking about is just not there on Hubert Davis. And I think the most damaging thing is not only some of the former players saying it, but the idea that the UNC brand right now is not feared, because that brand does carry a lot of weight. But Garrett, I'm driving, or I'm in a car going down to the shore this weekend, and I put out this tweet. I wasn't driving. I said, if UNC moves off of Hubert Davis, you have to call Jay Wright and Danny Hurley, but both will say no.
Correct.
TJ Otzelberger and Nate Oates are two realistic names. I'd also call Mark Few. Would he finally leave Gonzaga for a bigger job to win it all and take a swing at Todd Golden and Dusty May? But why leave Florida and Michigan now? This is at 9:54 a.m. Eastern time on March 21st. 450,000 views.
Woo.
And it's not the view count. It's the responses.
Yes.
So when I'm putting together that tweet, obviously you call Jay Wright and Danny Hurley. The amount of UNC fans that I heard from that said they would not want Danny Hurley. They would not want Jay Wright. Oh, Danny Hurley's antics aren't a UNC guy. Can I tell you something? Danny Hurley, you could think he's a baby. You could think he's whiny. You could think he's a jackass. He would win you over. I wouldn't even say have to win a game. He'd win you over in the press conference. And then when he wins a national championship, because he restored UConn and won back-to-back national championships and could win this year 3 out of 4 years, the moment he wins a championship, even if you were opposed to him and you didn't want him, you would shut up and you would all take it because ultimately people want to, we've seen people in sports, Garrett.
Oh,
What? We have a firing?
We got a wreck.
Oh, you have a car situation out there?
Yeah, I got a car wreck right in front of the studio.
Oh, I thought that you were just saying that you just saw that live?
Oh, yeah. It hit the front, did a nice little 360.
Oh, my. What the? First off, I hope everyone's okay, number one. Can I just be honest with you? What the heck is this setup that you guys are on the ground floor and the windows are open and you could see all the cars that pass by?
Dude, I've seen multiple wrecks here. That's
horrible.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, that one was.
Yeah,
dude, I saw this car start.
I hate to laugh, but when you said, oh, shit, and I hear you in the background, I'm thinking that Hubert Davis just got fired as the head coach of UNC.
Well, yeah.
But anyway, what I was going back to, we have seen people murder, rape, have disgusting allegations. And if they're not in a jail cell, they get out of a jail cell, they get a second chance.
Yep.
And there will be when Michael Vick, ended up in Philly after the dog fighting. Ray Lewis, for example. You go through the history of sports, when someone gets a second chance, there will be some outrage there. But if you get on the field and you start winning games, look at the Cleveland Browns, what Deshaun Watson is accused of.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson goes there, gets a fully guaranteed contract. If he would have won games and been a successful quarterback, no one's sitting there talking about the disgusting things that Deshaun Watson were accused of. So the idea that a UNC fan wouldn't want Danny Hurley, who's the face of the sport, has won 2 championships in 3 years, because he whines too much and he complains too much and has never done anything criminal or in the large scheme of things really terrible. UNC fans are going to oppose Danny Hurley? No. It's that you don't want the actual rejection, because if Dan Hurley got a phone call from UNC, he ain't coming to you.
No.
He's not coming to you. And Jay Wright, I had a few fans saying, Jay Wright's not a fit for UNC. Jay Wright, You put him in a powder blue suit? Jay Wright is the definition of class?
Yeah.
How is he not a fit? Why? Because he coached a team that beat you in a national championship game at the buzzer with Chris Jenkins? So these UNC fans, and I don't know if it's the majority of the fan base, but the fact that I got actual tweets saying, oh, we wouldn't want Danny Hurley or we wouldn't want Jay Wright, and then, Nate Oates, they can't hire Nate Oates. And I get it, right? What happened with the whole situation, multiple situations off the court. But Nate Oates took Alabama to a Final Four. Why can't he go to UNC and win a championship?
Oh, he easily could.
And hey, Todd Golden, there's well-documented things. You're telling me if Todd Golden says tomorrow I want to be the head coach of UNC fans would be outraged about it as long as you win. As long as you win, most of the time, 9.9 times out of 10, fans are going to turn their eyes the other way in a sport that has a tradition of being corrupt, right? Like, when did Sean Miller get let go at Arizona? It wasn't because of all the FBI stuff. Yeah. It wasn't because of that stuff. It was because he started not to win enough games. The same thing with Will Wade at LSU. They kept him around as long as they could. And then eventually you don't win enough games, and then they go, okay, it's time to move off because maybe the juice isn't worth the squeeze anymore. But UNC fans saying no to Danny Hurley, like, okay, if you want to say Oates, if you want to say Golden, fine. Jay Wright and Danny Hurley, get the F out of here.
They're going to have to get – and I'm interested to see, how much of that mindset is just strictly a fan mindset compared to an administrative mindset, because you don't want to be a program like you fall into the Michigan where you got to have the Michigan man and be all that, and you do all that, and it's scandal-ridden and everything else while you get a championship, and at the same time, you eventually have to get out of your comfort zone. You tried it with Rich Rod, now you're doing it again with Whittingham. You're going to have to at some point – I don't know – of the lineage of former North Carolina players that you could come and elect to be your next head coach. You're actually going to have to get out of the bubble and out of the box.
There's people that are talking about Kenny the Jet Smith because he had an illness and he's not been on the set. Maybe he's going there. Or Jerry Stackhouse. There's what did he do at Vanderbilt?
Where the hell have they coached?
Stackhouse was at least at Vanderbilt, and what did he do? And now you have a new guy that comes into Vanderbilt and has him successful.
Exactly.
So here's what I would say. Jay Wright is not coaching again. He doesn't want to do NIL. Yeah. Danny Hurley, I don't think he would take the UNC job. Why would you leave Storrs, Connecticut right now for UNC? And UConn's a blue blood. Yeah. Nate Oates, I think, would take the job in a second. TJ Otzelberger, I think, would take the job. Todd Golden, do you think he would leave Florida for UNC? I think
it would be intriguing. I think he would have to definitely consider it. But I need to know what their that's another thing, dude. It's so tricky. Can you match at UNC what Florida's put behind that program? Fair. I know that sounds stupid with it, North Carolina being a basketball program, but there's a significant gap financially in ACC and SEC.
And I don't think Dusty May is gonna leave Michigan.
You can make it your own
for UNC.
You go up there and make that your own.
So Grant McCaslin, could he be in the mix?
He's not, dude. That's another one. You're not going to match that Texas Tech money. It's not happening.
UNC can't match what Texas Tech is
doing. I'm
doing.
telling you right now, they ain't matching Texas Tech money.
Okay. What about Mark Byington at Vanderbilt?
Yeah, that's one. But what's the consistency? Is it a one-off? Is it a two-off?
Well, that's the thing. You got to try something. That's my point to UNC. You got, and he has some roots, right? He was at UNC Wilmington as a player. Mm-hmm. But you got to try something differently. And he goes to he's had success at James Madison. They went to the tourney, and I believe they won a game. And then in the last 2 years, he's been to the tournament at Vanderbilt.
Well, would you – all right, then this is just total shot in the dark, kind of. But you already have Will Wade at NC State. He's come out and said his LSU's not a fit. They're not going to get him. He's already there. Do you trust it and just at least give him an interview? Or
let me tell you this.
I feel like the luster's kind of worn off of him at this point.
I don't. Will Wade, because he was at McNeese. He was at McNeese, and they were a story last year in the tournament. They made the first 4 this year.
Yeah, he got bounced by Texas.
Yeah, but I think he could get it right at NC State. If UNC fans are opposed to Danny Hurley, I think they would be opposed to Will Wade.
Yeah.
That would just be my guess. But either way, this is my point to UNC fans that are in my mentions at Zach Gelb on Twitter. They're like, we need to bring in a UNC guy. There's a certain guy for UNC. Bullshit. I'm sorry. The goal is to win. I could pick up Mike Krzyzewski, dust him off, and say, Coach K, you want another opportunity? He wouldn't take the job. But if I put him at UNC after UNC fans hated his guts for years and he won a championship instantly, UNC fans will be doing somersaults in the street. This idea that the UNC program needs a UNC guy and there's a certain way of doing things at UNC, baloney. At the end of the day, UNC fans are like any other fan base. It doesn't matter who is there as long as you win. And Hubert Davis is not winning a national championship there. And he needs to go. And you need to try something different. You let Roy pick his guy, UNC guy. It looked like it was going to work the first year. And after that, it hasn't been successful. And how many times do you see this in coaching? When something doesn't work, the next guy that comes in is the complete antithesis of the other guy. In football, you get rid of an offensive-minded head coach. You bring in a defensive-minded head coach. So you just had a UNC guy. The UNC guy that was handpicked by the old coach didn't work. So now you got to bring in something new. And it may be foreign to UNC fans. It may be completely different. You may not love it at first. But if that guy ends up coming in and winning a championship, of course you're going to celebrate that guy. And you're not going to be sitting there saying, oh, we won a championship or we got to a Final Four, but it wasn't a UNC guy. Give me a break. Like, what are we doing here? That makes that reaction from that tweet that I sent out, Garrett, that's the part that doesn't make sense to me. That UNC fans think they could only win one way. They think they could only win one way. Newsflash. You could put a zebra as the head coach. A literal zebra. If that zebra wins a championship, you're not going to care that it was some animal on the sidelines because the animal wasn't a UNC guy. It's ridiculous, Garrett. Just the arrogance that I've been dealing with some of these UNC fans.
Well, you're braver than me to even go arguing with them because I would not even start arguing with those people.
Well, you know what? I was only arguing with the idiots. Like someone like clap back, you told Joel Berry he played for Hubert Davis. What are you, an idiot? How do you have a show? Do some research. And I'm like, no. Watch the clip, moron. Because even Joel Berry said it, and Hubert Davis was a goddamn assistant.
Yes.
An assistant on UNC staff when they won a championship together. So I don't know what I'm talking about. Or, oh, Jay Wright isn't a fit. Or Dan Hurley isn't a fit. Give me a mother bleeping break. I know I curse on this show, but I don't love to curse. I don't want to overly curse here. But give me a mother bleeping break. If you're telling me if Jay Wright said tomorrow, yeah, I want to coach, that UNC would be like, nope, not going to do it. Not going to do it. And you would take him in a second, and you would go pick up Danny Hurley at the airport and throw rose petals at his feet when he gets off the plane.
Yep.
So Hubert Davis is going to be out?
I think he's out, man. I don't see bringing him back. I don't see how you can sell that to that fan base.
All righty, let's get to Joel Berry. This was him on our show on Friday talking about the future of Hubert Davis. For the last few years, they just don't have that killer instinct, and I just don't look at them as a team that could win a national championship. I know you played for Hubert Davis and you're close with him. Do you think he's still the right man for the job?
You know, it's a hard conversation for me because that's someone that has coached me. I've seen him behind the scenes and seen the competitiveness and what he's able to get out of his players. And, I'm just starting to question some of the, just the in-game adjustments. And then I'm starting to question, the roster construction, not having enough guys to be able to withstand not having Caleb Wilson. Tyler said it. They're not playing against Caleb Wilson. They're playing against North Carolina. North Carolina usually has players that can make up for having one of your guys out. I just don't know. My emotions are kind of mixed right now. At one point, I said, okay, Coach Davis was for the job, but I'm having a lot of mixed emotions because it's the same old story. And as a player, as a former player, it's just the standard hasn't been lived up to.
I don't know if you'll agree with this, and I understand it's a tough spot for you, Joel Berry. This is the statement I'm going to give you. I think Hubert Davis should be fired. I don't think he will be fired. Do you agree with that?
I agree with, I don't think he will be fired. If you ask me if he gets fired today, would I be surprised? I would tell everyone 100% no. And you have all the facts, you have everything out there to say, okay, yeah, he should be fired. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think he will, because you got to look forward. He's bringing in a great recruiting class. You got to think about buyout situations, what that takes away from being able to allocate towards next year's roster. Those are some of the things that you have to think about. You just can't make a decision based on, the emotion right now. You got to sit down, lay all the cards on the table and see, okay, if we fire him, what will happen and what won't happen.
So there you go. That was Joel Berry with us on Friday. I do change my opinion on that. I do think that he obviously should get fired, and I do think that he will get fired, or they'll move on in some capacity with Hubert Davis as the head basketball coach at UNC. I will get to Bill Self and I will get to Greg McDermott in just a second, but there is NFL news, and it's a little misleading here, Garrett. The Kansas City Chiefs have signed Travis Kelce to his extension. The terms, we knew of this, but now the terms are officially released. It's a 3-year deal worth $54.735 million that could be worth up to $57.35 million. It's $18.245 million average. It's done by his agent, Mike Simon. And year one is $12 million plus $3 million incentives. Now, when I saw that, I said a 3-year deal for Travis Kelce. And then I thought to myself, I bet you it's not a true 3-year deal. Because I thought Kelce was on the verge of retirement. I thought this year was probably going to be his last season. But then they had this horrible season. He doesn't want to end on that note. But Ari Murov of My Sports Update kind of put out another tweet. The new Chiefs contract for Travis Kelce is structured as a 1-year, $12 million deal with another $3 million in incentives, with additional years included for cap purposes. If Kelce wants to continue playing after the season, the deal will be renegotiated next year. As currently structured, it is set up to be his final season, after which he would retire, allowing the cap hit to spread out over those added years. I like Travis Kelce. I do. I think he's been great for the sport, wildly entertaining. I do believe the Taylor Swift relationship has been good for the NFL as well. I'm kind of getting tired, though, of Travis Kelce chasing the perfect ending. And I have sympathy, right? This has been your whole life. It's not easy to walk away. You lost in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Last year, your team doesn't even make the playoffs. I just look at Kansas City this year. Sure, Eric Bieniemy's back. Andy Reid's still the head coach. You signed Kenneth Walker. Mahomes is coming off the ACL. You don't know what's going to ever happen with Rashee Rice. I just look at them, and this is the first time in a while I have no expectation for Kansas City. You can tell me they're going to go win the Super Bowl. I guess they can believe it. It's Mahomes. You can tell me they're going to miss the playoffs. Well, they just did so a year ago. You can tell me they win the AFC West. You can tell me they'd be a wild card team and win the playoff game and then lose in the second round. This is the first time in 7 or 8 years where I don't fear Kansas City coming in. And the Kelce story, because of how much it's been shoved down our throats, and let's be real, I've been a problem with that. Everyone in the media has been a problem with that. But now where this is it, and there's just not that villain role of the Chiefs anymore because they missed the playoffs last year. And the Kelce, it's all right, when are you going to retire? And we've done this song and dance now 2 or 3 years. I'm just fatigued out with the story. And I just, quite frankly, don't care anymore how much longer Travis Kelce plays. And I'm kind of hoping that this is his final season. Yeah. But if they don't do it the way that he envisions it, with him winning a championship, and he has a decent season and always have a decent season, then maybe he does come back for another year. But that chase of the perfect ending, you don't get to be Elway. You don't get to be Peyton Manning and have the perfect ending for most players.
I think the way that this contract was constructed, I think he's kind of come to the realization that I have it pretty damn good. And I really do feel like that's going to be his last year. Ideally, yeah, you want to go out with a Super Bowl. That's really not really realistic, as you just laid out. But I think that's kind of where he's at right now, is understanding that. You also have Patrick coming off the injury. There's so many questions. I really truthfully feel like this is going to be his last year. He's just going to ride off into the sunset.
Adam Schefter, this is from earlier this morning. Offensive Player of the Year and Super Bowl champion Jackson Smith-Njigba reached an agreement with the Seahawks on a 4-year, $168.6 million contract extension. That now makes him the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. The deal averages $42.15 million per year and includes over $120 million guaranteed, both setting records for any wide receivers. Would you say right now, and I remember when JSN got drafted, I had him on the day before he got drafted. I was at some event, and I got to sit down with him for 10 to 15 minutes. And I said to him, I think you're the best wide receiver in this draft class. I think you should be a top 10 pick, but it feels like you're not going to be a top 10 pick. Now, his first 2 years, we all knew he was good. I know there was questions at the end at Ohio State with his health, but the first 2 years he was on a team with DK Metcalf, with also Tyler Lockett, right? There was a jam. Then they get rid of DK, they get rid of Tyler Lockett. He becomes the number one wide receiver, and he has this great season that results in the Seahawks winning a Super Bowl. Do you say right now JSN is the best wide receiver in the NFL?
It's hard. It's hard to argue.
I would still say there's two.
I would say no. I'm saying no.
I would say Justin Jefferson is still the best wide receiver. I would then say Jamar Chase is number 2.
Yes.
I would have JSN 3.
Yes.
And with Jefferson and Chase, it's just that they've done it longer.
Yes.
I would then put CeeDee Lamb 4, and then I would have Puka Nacua as 5. I think those are the 5 best wide receivers, and you're splitting hairs. Like, I could put those 5 guys there, and I could order them any way you want, 1 through 5, and I can't really call you an idiot, a moron, and a dope. But if you're asking me, Zach, for this season, you're drafting the 5 best wide receivers, I would still say Jettas is 1, Jamar Chase is 2, Jackson Smith-Njigba is 3, CeeDee Lamb of the Cowboys is 4, and then Puka Nacua of the LA Rams would be 5.
I would agree with that. I would probably, in the order, I would switch up a little bit. I think Puka's better than CeeDee, but yeah, dude, you can't go wrong with any of them 5 right there. I think those are the best 5.
Okay, getting back to the college basketball world, here is here's a video clip, from Bill Self. So yesterday, we didn't get into this yet. What did you make of the strategy at the end of the game, Kansas and St. John's? Let's just say, Garrett, there was, I forget the exact specifics, but there was like 15 seconds left. They had 3 to 5 fouls to give. They're fouling, and they're trying to get the game into overtime. St. John just puts up a shot, it doesn't go, and then boom, you get the game to overtime. They left like 3 to 4 seconds left, and then Darling makes that layup. People afterwards were crushing Self for the strategy. In the moment, I actually thought it was a brilliant strategy. Don't try to allow clock to run off. Foul. St. John's had problems inbounding the basketball all game. There was one time with the kid, he basically passed the ball to himself. He fumbled it.
He got benched too.
So I understood the strategy by Bill Self. It was just that the defense in the final 3-4 seconds, after having a good strategy, and maybe you would like to have, obviously in an ideal world, shave a second or 2 off, but you get 4 seconds left. Darling hits a shot, and why did he hit the layup? It's because the defense was garbage. So how they got there, I had no issue with it. It was the defense afterwards, but I didn't have any issue with that strategy yesterday by Bill Self, and a lot of people on social media afterwards were crushing him for it.
And I think that's people just bitching and looking for stuff to complain about.
And reacting.
They're reacting. They're looking for Kansas is once again fell out and didn't live up to the expectations. And that to me, that's all that is. Because if that play wouldn't have happened, that one layup wouldn't have happened, then it's Bill Self's great. And it was a great game plan down this. It's just how the ball didn't bounce their way ultimately. And that's why you're seeing that, in my opinion.
And let's be real. If that game goes to overtime, after St. John's was the better team for most of that game, aren't you trusting the best player on the court?
You have
even though Darren Peterson has not had a better season than Zubi Ejiofor. But Darren Peterson was heating up. You're telling me if you get to an extra, 5 minutes, I think it is, that if you get to overtime, You're not trusting Peterson when the St. John's offense, even though they were leading most of the way, was sloppy. Like, if that game gets to overtime, I believe everyone's praising Bill Self. And if Kansas wins that game, everyone's trashing Rick Pitino.
Yep.
So let's hear from Bill Self, because I told you this going into the tournament. There was a lot of smoke, and I know Bill Self has even talked about this potentially being his final season. There's been a lot of health problems. You had the whole Darren Peterson situation. Bill Self, towards the end of it, got more honest and was attacking the player more so. But this was Bill Self afterwards talking about his future as the head coach of Kansas.
Been made about your coaching future. Given what you've gone through on and off the court, how much time will you take to reflect upon what is next on this stage of your career?
Well, I haven't really gone through much on the court. You know, I've gone through some stuff off the court, so I'll get back and get with family and visit and see what's going on. I love what I do. You know, I need to be able to do it where I'm feeling good and healthy to do it, fairly well. So I'll get back home and it'll all be discussed. No, I haven't decided. I'll get back and visit with family, and I've had some obviously some issues off the court health wise, and that'll be discussed. But I love what I do. I want to feel good while I'm doing it, though. So we'll get back and we'll discuss that when we get back.
All right, Garrett, we're going to do 3, 2, 1, then we're going to give the answer. The question is, will Bill Self be back as the head basketball coach at Kansas next year? You ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Yes.
No. Ooh, okay. I think he's going to retire. I think we've seen some uncharacteristic things as the season did go on, especially with how unhappy he was with Darren Peterson. This is technically an old guard coach that is stuck in his ways. Now he has health issues. There's been a lot of smoke this year, even though he's denied it, but he left it open there at the end, and that was the first time you kind of heard a different Bill Self when it came to this topic. I believe he's really thinking about it, and ultimately we'll have UNC open because they're going to get rid of Hubert Davis. I also believe you're going to have Kansas open because I think Bill Self has coached his final game. Your explanation on why you think he's coming back?
I think that the way things unfolded this year, with most of the season being overshadowed by him not necessarily perceived as having control of the program and how things went, I think he comes back next year. I think he sets the program up and puts a successor in his place, and then they go and move forward. But I feel like you're going to see one more final run with him up there in Lawrence.
So we've seen a trend when a legendary coach walks away. Duke, Krzyzewski walks away, Shire comes in. Roy Williams walks away, Hubert Davis comes in. Boeheim, I could say walk away, he got forced out. Autry comes in. So you've seen that happen.
Yeah.
Jay Wright walks away. They bring back Kyle Neptune. It's always been a guy that's had a connection to the old coach. So today, Coach McDermott, Greg McDermott, he is retiring, and the job is going to be passed on to Alan Huss, who obviously has been with the program for a long time as a player and then also as a coach. I don't know what Kansas would. I think Kansas would be the wild card where I don't know if it has to be a Bill Self guy.
You know what I would do if I was Kansas? One of the first calls I would make, just because this guy's a good coach. He's been to a championship, and he is clearly not pleased where he's at right now, is give Mick Cronin a call. It might not be the most popular thing. It might not be the most popular, but he's a damn good coach. And if you put him in Kansas, that could be very interesting. He does not like the travel in the Big Ten. He's pretty adamant about that. It could be an option. I don't know if it would work or not, but it would be a call I'd make. You know who's on his staff? Jock Vaughn, who obviously was a coach in the NBA. Yeah. But I'm just telling you, he's miserable where he's at. He's got success in the tournament. But here's the thing. So I think Mick Cronin, by the way, I used to really like Mick Cronin. This is now funny how this has turned. Yeah. You don't like Mick Cronin. I used to like Mick Cronin. Then I gave up on Mick Cronin when he had the issue with his own player this year and just tried to embarrass him. You're Kansas. I think you could do better than Mick Cronin. I think Mick Cronin's a damn good coach, but I think you could do better with a younger, more
fit to
Right.
kind of the sport, would just be what I would think.
No, you absolutely could. That's probably the direction they're going to go. But I think that knowing somebody who's out there who has, the track record, who obviously isn't pleased, it's worth a shot to give a call, at least to pick their brain.
Yeah. So you're saying that Self is going to be back with the program next year. Here's the other thing. He's a legendary coach.
Correct.
I believe he's already in the Hall of Fame.
Should be, yeah.
You saw Coach K. Now, he's not on the level of Coach K, but Bill Self is one of the best coaches to do it. You saw Coach K have a year send-off.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that factors in for a guy like, do you think Bill Self will need a year send-off?
I don't think he cares. I think that his track record speaks for itself. To me, his makeup, his character, I don't think he gives two damns about getting a send-off like that. To me, no, I don't think that plays into a factor.
I do wonder, I'm just going to do something here right off the cuff, because I really haven't given it much thought until now in terms of who replace him. Who would replace Bill Self at Kansas? I'm just curious what the answers would be.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Former player and NBA coach Jack Vaughn has been mentioned as a potential successor. Now, this is just from AI Overview.
Right, yeah.
Former Jayhawks such as Nick Collinson.
See, that's the thing. You don't need to stay in-house. And I know that's what they're trying to do, like pulling that up, but I don't think you can necessarily have to stay in-house or bring a Jayhawk in.
Yeah. And especially if UNC maybe hires away, maybe Kansas says, okay, we don't need it to be one of our own as well. But that's been the trend in the sport. When a legendary coach walks away, it's either they don't want to walk away or they still want their legacy to be there. Mm-hmm. They still want to feel like they have some attachment to the program, which, let's be real, Boeheim will always have attachment to Syracuse. Self will always attach to Kansas. Rory Williams will always have attachment to UNC. Coach K built Duke. Like, he'll always have attachment to Duke. So this idea, Jay Wright, Villanova, this idea that those guys have to hire one of their own, it's your preference, sure, that you have one of your guys come on in and replace you. But I always stress to these athletic departments, do a fair, genuine, honest search. And if you think someone else is better, don't just appease the old guy. Because, yes, we know what the success is of the older guys, but they're not your future.
No.
And if they're a little bit annoyed that you didn't go with their guy, I still think that it's not like, if Coach – and Shire's working. But let's say if they thought someone else was better than Shire, I don't think that he's not going to be around as often. But it's not as if Coach K, whenever you ask him to come to a game, is going to say, "Oh, I'm not going because you didn't hire John Shire." These coaches are all egomaniacs, and they're still going to want to get that pop from the fan base and get their respect. So anyway, that's some of the stuff that's going on in the college world right now. We know McDermott is walking away. We're on Hubert Davis watch, and there's a lot of questions about the future of Bill Self and if he's going to retire or not as the head coach at Kansas. Baseball season is right around the corner. We do have opening day coming up on Wednesday and Thursday, depending on who your team is. I'm actually going to be going to the Mets game on Thursday as the Mets do play the Pirates. Your guy Paul Skeens is going to be on the mound there, Garrett. I know big LSU guy you are.
You are lucky. Hey, dude, I've
well, no, I'm not lucky. He's probably going to kick my team's ass. Now, if I'm sitting next to Livy Dunn in the outfield, then I'm lucky. But I don't think that's a good thing for the Mets that they're going up against Skeens.
Well, look, I've adopted the Pirates as my team, so it's good. I'm be soaking up your misery.
I've adopted the Pirates as my team as you're wearing an Atlanta Braves hat.
Hey, so look, it's about the style, it's about the flow,
Yeah, well, Anthony Rizzo is going to be a part of the Netflix coverage for opening day. He has the Giants and the Yankees. Anthony Rizzo played for the Padres. He played for the New York Yankees, and he won a World Series championship with the Cubs. He's going to join us on the other side as we do a little baseball. I know we haven't done much baseball here on the Zach Gelb Show on 365 Sports. Mainly, we get you covered with the NFL. We get you covered with college football. Obviously, this time of the year, a ton of college basketball. Scheduled to join us as the week does move on. Dusty May from Michigan, Alex Caravan from UConn. Josh Pastner is also going to join us as well. So we'll break a little bit from the college game in football and basketball, the pro football world, and we're going to do a little baseball preview with Anthony Rizzo when the Zach Gelb Show on 365 Sports continues after these short messages.
You have a second?
Yeah, come on in.
Thanks. I'm having an issue with Ralph.
With Ralph?
He keeps stealing my lunch.
He's just researching new flavors.
That is slow smoked turkey.
Ralph steals my lunch all the time. You get used to it.
He also peed on my bag.
He is warming up to you. You know, starting a new job, it's a big change. I want you to think about how you can be more accommodating to Ralph. We're all co-owners here.
If I'm only wearing one suit this summer, it has to be Tuileries Performance Linen. It's wrinkle resistant, machine washable, and built with stretch and breathability that actually moves with you. It'll keep you cool, sharp, and stress-free at your next event.
What does being different mean to me? You know, that is an interesting question.
Because there really isn't one way. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it.
But love is passion. Something you can't live without.
What do you want? You know, what's that really good non-alcoholic beer I keep hearing about?
Do you have that really great non-alcoholic beer that I keep seeing?
You mean athletic? You're looking at it.
It's athletic. Ask for it.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
It is the Zach Gelb Show. The first pitch of baseball season is coming live to Netflix on March 25th as the San Francisco Giants host the New York Yankees at Oracle Park. Netflix's opening night pregame show begins at 4 p.m. Pacific time, with the teams taking the field to start the 2026 MLB season at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And now joining us is a man that won the World Series with the Chicago Cubs, also spent some time with the Padres and the New York Yankees, and that is Anthony Rizzo, who will be part of all the action. Anthony, appreciate the time. How you been?
Good, Zach. How you doing, man?
Well, I'm doing fantastic. So I know you retired last year. Now you're getting involved with the folks at Netflix. Not surprising that you're in the broadcasting world, knowing your personality. How much, though, with opening day right around the corner, do you still miss the game?
Surprisingly, not that much. It's the game's hard, man. It took a lot to be at that top level, and knowing what it takes to be at that top level. When you lay it down, you miss the ins and outs of the game. You miss opening day. You miss the playoffs. But the grind of it, you miss the guys. But the grind of it is, I haven't missed it that much. So, and it'll be great now getting back into getting into broadcasting, kind of a new career, new chapter. But I'm excited about opening day. Netflix is going to do it big. I'm excited to get out to San Francisco and be around the cast.
Well, you get to see some old teammates, one of them being Aaron Judge, since you guys have the Giants and the Yankees. I'm not a huge World Baseball Classic guy. It just never really has resonated with me. I love like the Olympic hockey and all that stuff, but it's just different for me with the World Baseball Classic. But coming off of that, we all know what Judge is to the sport. Him and Ohtani are the two best everyday players in the sports. And you look at Judge's resume, he has everything but that World Series championship. And you know it's even magnified more when you play for the Yankees. You being around him, do you think it's just a matter of time? Is it inevitable? Is there just no doubt that one day Aaron Judge will win it all?
I think there's no doubt. I mean, I want to say that as a friend, as a person. I know who he is. As a leader, he deserves all of it. But at the end of the day, it is so hard to win. You see last year's World Series. If IKF gets a little bit of a better jump on third base, the Dodgers don't repeat, right? And the Blue Jays are World Series champions, and all their lives are changed. So, I mean, in 2016, we had a rain delay that helped us win. So it's just so hard to win that last game of the season. But Aaron Judge carries himself as a champion every day, the way he prepares, his work ethic, his leadership. So it's so easy to root for him. It's so easy as a teammate to root for him. And as a fan of the sport, I would imagine it's pretty easy to root for him as well.
You winning a World Series in Chicago, you kind of know the mental game of it as well, where there's a little bit of a negative feeling. They're waiting for the other shoe to fall. Oh, how are the Cubs going to mess it up this year? With the Yankees, it is different because if you don't win a World Series, the fan base isn't satisfied. You were able to overcome some of the mental hurdles in Chicago and bring them a World Series championship. How trying is that at times on an athlete day in and day out when you know what's hovering over you?
Yeah, no, it gets you. Those intrusive thoughts come and go real fast, and they come a lot, especially in today's day and age with all the social media, everything that's out there, all the information that's out there. So it's really easy to get the negative. It's really easy to get all the positive when things are going good, but you better be strong when that negative's rolling around. But you just got to keep, for me, it's always perspective, right? The Cubs were 108 years. I said, I've only been here for 4 or 5 years. It's not on me. Like, I'm not responsible for the 108 years, right? So that's the perspective that I always kept, and try not to let that pressure of the entire weight of the city and really a nation of Cubs fans, world of Cubs fans on top of you.
You've been a part of 2 World Series performances, winning one in Chicago, being on the Yankees team that lost to the Dodgers. So you know what it's like to play in a World Series crowd. What did you make of Judge's comments that the World Baseball Classic crowds were bigger and better than the World Series crowds?
Honestly, I don't even think it compares. I think the World Baseball Classic crowds are the most electric sporting event crowds I've ever been to. I've played in 2 World Series. Those World Series games, you have the fans that are just absolutely nervous the entire time for their team. Unless something good happens, they're going crazy. But I went to the DR game, U.S. Dominican Republic and U.S. Venezuela, and those crowds, the passion that Venezuela, the Caribbean brings, Venezuela, Dominican, is just unmatched. And it really was the most electric sporting event I've ever been to.
You know, it's interesting because when I first heard that, I'm like, oh, hold on. Like, we're having you on today.
The game's not as big. The game doesn't mean as much, but the actual crowd and noise and environment, hands down.
And I wonder if that statement resonates differently when you get outside this country. Because, like, I grew up with Major League Baseball, and you grew up, the World Series, the biggest thing. And then the World Baseball Classic was introduced to us. And you do hear those crowds on TV. Like, I was on a bachelor party during one of the games, and I'm listening to the background. I go, man, those crowds, they do get loud at the WBC.
Yeah, the magnitude of winning the WBC is nowhere near winning a World Series, at least for us, for Americans, I feel like. And I'm not speaking for all Americans, but I was talking to someone about Team Dominican and Team Venezuela. You know, these guys, they're a way out of the island to be successful is playing baseball. It's really all there is in Dominican. In Venezuela, there's a lot of baseball players. So the passion they have, they're minorities in our country. There's a language barrier. So when they all get together, it's like family. And when Team USA gets all together, it's really just all stars. So the magnitude isn't as big as the World Series by any means, but those crowds were, in my opinion, too, definitely louder.
Anthony Rizzo here with us, a part of the Netflix coverage. You're going to do a great job tipping off the baseball season coming up in a few days from now with pregame coverage beginning at 4 p.m. Pacific time on March 25th. They have the Giants and the Yankees. You look at the Yankees this year, we know the goal for them is to go win a World Series. It's just one of those things now that's what they have to do with how long this core has been together, this group has been together. I look at a team that could challenge them inside their division. There's a few, but the Red Sox, their rotation was already pretty damn good with Crochet, and now they go out there and they go get Ranger Suarez. That Red Sox rotation is looking pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, the whole AL East, really. The Rays are going to be good. They're getting McCallaghan back. The Yankees are going to have to bring their lunch pails every day. They know that. They have the target on them. When teams come to Yankee Stadium, it's that adrenaline is higher than if you're just going to play at Marlins Park, right, at Lone Depot. So the Yankees know that. The division is a gauntlet. The American League is a gauntlet, and that's what you love as a baseball player. You love to be in those games. You love the interdivision rivalries, and that's really in the end that's gonna make you battle tested for the playoffs.
And I look at storylines like right now with the season getting underway and what we could track through the year. I'm really curious when you look at just the AL. Tarek Skubal is one of the best pitchers in the sport, and his contract's coming up at the end of the year. I don't think the Tigers and him are ever going to come to an agreement. So that's a name that I don't know how you feel about it, but I wasn't surprised he didn't get traded the offseason, but I kind of expect him to get traded by the deadline. It's going to be curious to see how they're going to handle that, because the Tigers the last 2 years, as you know, have been one damn good team.
Yeah, I think the Tigers too are going to really be in it there. Even, I mean, a couple of years ago, they traded at the deadline and they made a run to the in the playoffs. So it's a young team. AJ Hinch does an amazing job at leading those guys. Scott Harris, their president, is really knows what he's doing. He's building a good future there, and they have a good farm system. So I wouldn't expect Scooble to be traded, but who knows how the season unfolds.
If you had to take the Dodgers or the field to win it all this year, do you see the Dodgers three-peater, and do you go somewhere else?
The thing with the Dodgers is a lot of their guys in the bullpen had down years for them. So, yes, they won the World Series, but those guys who have proven track records in the back end of the bullpen are going to be coming back hungry.
And now they got Diaz, too.
They signed Diaz. They signed Kyle Tucker. So you want to say there's going to be a hangover, right? 3 years in a row. It's just that's so much baseball, mentally, physically. But they are deep and they are good. But with that being said, I am going to take the field. I just don't think at the end that they'll be able to do it. But on paper, they have everything it takes.
Who would you take in the NL? Like, if you just had to throw a dart on the board, the Dodgers don't get to the World Series in the NL. Who would you pivot to?
Man, I like the Phillies. I like the Padres if they can get over that hump. But I don't know. That's the beauty of baseball now, is that the Cubs are going to be really good if they pitch the way that they can. They have a really good closer, and I think their offense and they're hungry coming off last year's playoff appearance. So I think the NL is definitely a harder path to the World Series than the American League. But again, that's on paper. So let's see how the season folds.
I'm going opening day to see my Mets up against the Pirates. I know they lost Alonso and Diaz, but do you think the Mets could get back to the postseason?
I would say one thing I'm certain of is the Mets are not going to win the World Series. That might be just the Yankee in me, but yeah, I mean, losing Pete is going to be big. I think he was so steady there and what he did, but they have young guys coming up, and Juan Soto can carry a team. I've seen him do it. I've seen him do it in the playoffs. He's an amazing player. So I love Carlos Mendoza. I actually love most of the guys in the Mets. Clay Holmes is going to take another huge step this year, starting pitching. So I do see them being a problem in the playoffs, actually. But like I said, the NL, it's deep. It's really deep.
The last thing I'll end you on, I know you got to run. You're doing a great job promoting Netflix and obviously the opening day coverage. So as a baseball fan, I grew up loving baseball, still do love baseball. I thought for a few years the sport took a hit, but then momentum's really starting to come back strong, and you're seeing it in the numbers. But there's that dark cloud of the strike that just feels inevitable at the end of this season. So I enter this season just not knowing what to expect after this year. You being a part of the sport as a player, now a broadcaster, just what are your thoughts on what could be a potential upcoming labor dispute?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, in this game, every year, I would think I went through three different CBA agreements, maybe more. And every time it was the same thing. And every year the media just grows and grows and the storyline grows up. We're definitely striking. We're definitely striking. We're definitely not going to play. So last CBA agreement, I know we delayed a little bit of the season. The owners know what they're doing. The players know what they're doing, and they need to figure it out, hopefully, because you're right. The sport is in a great spot. You have superstars up and down the board. You have Shohei leading the international charge. You have Judge leading the American charge. East, West Coast. Every team is good. The competitiveness is good. So it'd be a shame if they did go into a lockout or a strike, but it would be, I don't think it would be for too long, but who knows? You have no idea how it's going to unfold.
The first pitch of baseball season is coming live to Netflix on March 25th as the San Francisco Giants host the New York Yankees at Oracle Park. Netflix's opening pregame show begins at 4 p.m. Pacific time. You'll see Anthony Rizzo on there with teams taking the field to start the 2026 MLB season at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Good luck. We're looking forward to watching and seeing the broadcasting career of Anthony Rizzo continue to evolve. But thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Zach.
There he is, Anthony Rizzo, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on 365 Sports. I have really just quickly to wrap up the show here, Garrett. We told you that Adam Schefter last week said he does not see Jeremiah Love getting drafted by the Tennessee Titans at 4.
Right.
Shefty was on the Pat McAfee show earlier today, and he threw a team out there. Do you want to take a guess who that team is?
Washington.
That would be correct.
Ooh,
There was
okay.
also a certain talk show host last week that said, I would like to see Jeremiah Love with the Washington Commanders because you put Jaden Daniels and Love together. That would make a lot of excitement, a lot of sense, and it would kind of remind you of maybe a Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley kind of pairing. So Adam Schefter on where you could see Jeremiah Love being drafted, quote, he's a top 10 pick. I don't see him going to the Titans or the Giants right now. A place that makes sense to me would be the Washington Commanders. And
let's go.
How about that? All righty. Good stuff by Logan, Andrew, Garrett. Big thanks to each and every one of you for tuning on in. At Zach Gelb on Twitter and Instagram. At The Zach Gelb Show on TikTok. Big thanks to Anthony Rizzo for joining us. Tomorrow, we should be joined by Dusty May. We should be joined by Alex Caravan. And I believe we'll be getting a Nebraska basketball player as well. That's some of the stuff that's been in the works. On Wednesday, Josh Passer will join us. And make sure youtube.com/@365sportsyt, youtube.com/@365sportsyt. Subscribe. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Tuesday, right at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time. I'm Zach Gelb. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.